After years of running, wrestling, reconciliation and fleeing, and counting sheep that were originally not his, Jacob finally comes to a place where he is starting to get still. He comes to the outskirts of Shechem to a city named Shechem. There, he buys land, real land this time, not just temporary grazing rights. He buys real land, and his family is now starting to settle. Tents go up, dust settles, and now he has a place where he can call a home. Most likely, the females in his family start unpacking the cooking pots. Then, he does what Jacob always did when life paused long enough for him to remember that God has been with him all along. He builds an altar. Now that they are settled, Dinah, who is Leah's daughter, decides to go out and visit the daughters of the land. To her, this is just a social visit. She has no sense of prophetic gender and she has no agenda. This is what most people would do when they get to a new environment. You want to know your neighbors, you want to make friends. And that is exactly what Dinah does. She senses no harm. But in every environment, we know there are different characters. Some are questionable and some are commendable. So Shechem, who is a prince of the region, a son to Hamor, from whom Jacob had bought the land in which they were settling, sees Dinah. And he takes Dinah, lays with her, and defiles her. Bear in mind, when the Bible talks about taking someone, it's not just taking them to your house. We're also told she was defiled. She had no idea this was going to happen, but anyway, it happened to her. And afterwards, something complicated happens. Normally, when someone defiles another, they hate them thereafter. But for Shechem, this was different. His heart clung to Dinah, and he desired her as a wife. So he went and told his father Hamor, "Get me this girl to wife." So this disheartening news gets to Jacob's desk. And he decides to hold his peace until his sons come from the field. When the sons come back and they hear of this, they are deeply grieved and they consider this as a foul against Israel. Remember, Shechem had told Hamor to get him Dinah as a wife. So they both go to Jacob and they propose intermarriages between the two families. They propose trading together. They propose sharing land. They propose being one, like a merger of families. And even Shechem goes ahead and adds, name the gifts, name the dowry, just name the price. This is the bar for if he wanted to, he would, But the brothers to Dinah are grieved. And so they say, for that to happen, all the men of Shechem will have to get circumcised. And let me tell you, a man in love will do anything to get the woman they love. They agreed. And then they left and went to their city's gate. And they started having a conversation with their kinsmen. And they presented these things to them, saying they needed to get circumcised to be one. Just like our politicians speak to us here in Kenya when they want our votes, they also presented their petition. And they even told their people, will their wealth not be our wealth? And of course, the people were persuaded and they agreed. So all the men of Shechem were circumcised. The men of Shechem agreed to being circumcised because Dinah's brothers had said they could not give their sister to be married to uncircumcised males. You would think this was a deal breaker from a positive side of the lens. However, this was deceitful. It was a plan for them. And then the third day came. So all the circumcised male were still sore, and pain was all over in the city. This was the perfect time when Dinah's brothers decided to take vengeance for their sister's defilement. So Simeon and Levi went into the city and they slew every male that had been circumcised. And by the edge of the sword, they slew Shechem and his father Hamor. And they took Dinah out of Shechem's house and went with her away. Then the rest of the brothers also came upon the city. And they spoiled the city. They took their cattle, they took their sheep, their wealth, they took their wives and their little ones as captive. When Jacob saw this, he spoke to Simeon and Levi and said, "You have made me stink in the midst of the Canaanites." And Jacob knew that he was few in numbers for him and his population and his kinsmen, and he was troubled and he feared. But what did Simeon and Levi say to their father? "Should he deal with our sister as a harlot?" Brothers in defense mode. And while Jacob was troubled, God spoke to him again, and he said, "Go to Bethel, dwell there, and make an altar." So Jacob said to the people of his household, "Clean yourselves, change your garments." They were supposed to start on a journey. So they brought all the earrings and all the gods they had, and Jacob buried them under an oak tree at Shechem, and their journey started. As they journeyed to Bethel, the cities around them did not pursue them, because the fear of the Lord was with them. So they get to Bethel, and Jacob makes another altar. And the Lord appeared to Jacob, and he said to him, "From today you will be called Israel, and not Jacob anymore." So while they are a few meters away from Ephrath, Rachel goes into labor, hard, painful labor. But she had a midwife who encouraged her and told her, "This son you will also have." But Rachel's strength departs in the process, and she calls the son Ben-Oni. But Jacob renames him to Benjamin. Then Rachel dies. Jacob buried her there at Ephrath, and the family continued journeying on. The road trip did not stop. Only Rachel's life did. This is Scripture Unheard, stories we skip, scriptures that remain, the almost forgotten pages of the Bible.